She works out because her finance job gives her the same stress levels as someone being hunted for sport. For the coaches in the audience and any of you who've listened, like we know that whole fight or flight response that gets triggered, right? This is why we're doing the bravery thing. But I just love how, someone being hunted for sport, like it's just those visuals, it just really impacts and it sits with you and it's something you think about all day. Now, for the people who are watching that who are like, oh, I have a high stress job that makes me feel like I'm being hunted for sport and that's why I work out, right? Do you see the power of that storytelling? And for the health coaches in the room, you can absolutely bring that into what you are doing. Hello there, I'm your host, Tiffany Gilliland, an Australian business and mindset coach with 10 years' experience in online marketing and the creator of the Business Bravery framework. I help coaches to be brave so you can sign more clients even if you hate marketing and sales feel icky. From signing your next paying clients through to launching that dream group coaching program, the Business Bravery framework helps you take bigger leaps without the mindset spirals. It's helped my clients double their investment in me, make thousands of dollars, and truly build their dream businesses. In this episode, I'm sharing some amazing knowledge and valuable tips on how to uplevel your content and sign more paying coaching clients. I promise, guys, I'm reading off the words here. So, specifically, the number one reason why your content isn't converting into paying clients. Even if you're not a coach, if you're a course creator or a service-based business owner, this information will apply. Before I get into the goodness of this episode, I have a couple of short behind the scenes updates. Now, the first one is if you listen to my previous solo episode, which was episode 71 on my breaking through fear of success blocks, you will perhaps be interested to know that this is the episode that I was supposed to record back then a couple of weeks ago, and it was the episode that I was really blocked on. And I wanted to share this because that block actually really helped me. And so if you haven't listened to that yet, go back and listen to episode 71. You can listen to it afterwards. That might even be a really interesting way of experiencing it. I think it's just so valuable to see how blocked I was and then how I've worked through it, and then how I think I just showed up better in recording this episode. So that's some of the behind the scenes of bravery, and some of the stuff that I'm working on now is struggling with these blocks, like the fear of success blocks and things like that. And it's like I have something planned, it's on my calendar, I'm planned, and I want to have integrity with myself and do the things that I plan. But sometimes, like, my body is freaking out, my subconscious is freaking out, and I'm having to work on being okay with the blocks and trusting myself that I can work through those. So now that's probably a whole separate episode. I could easily talk for an hour on this. I'm finding it fascinating, but that is not the point of this episode. Okay. So I just wanted to share that. The second update that I wanted to share is you're going to be hearing in this episode some amazing information and, based on, like, I've been in online marketing since 2011. I went to university for marketing. I have been helping coaches since 2017. Yeah, worked for government, nonprofit, all of this kind of stuff. The messaging and content is where I started, and it's often the awesomeness that my clients really love when they work with me one-on-one. So I'm going to be sharing lots of that. You're going to get so much help in this episode. What has happened since I recorded this episode, we actually have like an update. Like I have a workshop that sort of goes along with the podcast. So in the podcast, you're going to get all of the how-tos, all of that awesomeness. There is a live interactive workshop coming up where we will be actually applying these concepts to your content and creating content live in a live workshop over Zoom. Okay. At the moment, it's called the One Sentence Stories Workshop. I may be changing the name to the Content to Clients Workshop because I need to take my own advice. I have realized that I have done what I tell my clients not to do, and we all fall into this trap of like one sentence stories. Everybody should want it. It sounds amazing. However, the transformation in the title content to clients, yeah, that's something that would actually probably help sell it more. So if you see that, if I'm brave enough to change the name a couple of weeks out from running it, you will see that. If not, here's some behind the scenes. You'll probably see it the next time I run it. What I wanted to say is that this workshop that I will be running, the one sentence stories workshop, and I think keeping it the same as what I refer to it throughout the episode, it now has a date, a time, and pricing that I didn't have. It wasn't I wasn't brave enough to commit to at that point in time. That's a whole other behind the scenes episode of where I was at with those things that I want to share with you right now, but otherwise this episode will go forever and then nobody will listen. So basically, the workshop is coming up, and it's where I'm going to be teaching you the concepts. Like I will like reteach the concepts because not everybody will have listened to the podcast. If you've listened to the podcast, you'll be ahead and you'll be able to make decisions faster. You might have already half written some content. And in the workshop, we will be live co-creating content together, right? That doesn't mean you're creating other people's content. You're creating your own, but there'll be, pauses and here's what I've come up with and getting feedback and learning from each other and all of this kind of awesomeness, right? So we'll work on your IG bio, your promo posts for your coaching or your courses or your services, right? We'll be upgrading your reels and your stories with these powerful storytelling techniques that really help to connect with potential clients and help convert potential clients because they need to see the transformation, they need to see what it is that you do, they need to see themselves working with you. And selling coaching and courses, it's different to selling a toaster online, right? You need to be able to connect and also help people feel confident that they can take action and get the transformation, right? They need to make changes. So this is what we're making sure comes across in the content. So it's happening on April 30th at 6 p.m. EDT, Eastern Daylight Time, 5 p.m. Central, and 3 p.m. Pacific. That's also May 1st at 8 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. The price is 49 US dollars for this 2 hour interactive workshop where we will be creating content together and you will come out of it with new skills to create better content and sign more clients, and you'll come out of it with content you can use straight away, right? So the best part is because you guys are listening on the podcast and I love you all so much. You guys are amazing. You get a special code to use to get $25 off, and that code is Stories25, which is about 50% off, maybe a little more. Don't ask me the numbers, but it will bring it down to a total price of $24 for this amazing 2 hour workshop. This is the stuff that I've been teaching my one-on-one clients for years and helping them with, right? Especially the ones who are really worried about words and finding the right words and that kind of thing. This is that process, and it has helped my one-on-one clients to launch, sign clients, even without launching, signing clients with, just doing content and that kind of stuff, right? They have signed high ticket clients, earned thousands, doubled their investment in me, and all of that amazing stuff, right? So this particular workshop, me teaching it in this way, is a beta round, and I might not offer this price again in the future. And on this beta round workshop, there is a 100% money back guarantee if you feel like you didn't learn something, right? Didn't help you in any way. I will refund you. I may ask a couple of questions only so that I can make sure I improve either my marketing or like, for other people so that, that doesn't happen in the future, right? I'm really happy to be able to give you those updates, and I'm super excited to step into the bravery of like telling people. I've already had a couple of people sign up for the workshop, so it's definitely going ahead. And I'm super excited to have more people join us to work through this amazing process. Now, with all of that said, who's ready for some business bravery inspiration? I'm going to let past Tiff take over and share all of the goodness and all of the stuff that you are waiting for. All right. Hello, hello. I am super excited to be talking to you guys today, all about how to fix your coaching content. So the official title I have so far, who knows if it will change, but the number one reason your coaching content isn't converting and how to fix it. Okay. Now, this episode is in particular for new and early stage business coaches and health coaches, right? Holistic health coaches, all types of business coaches, productivity, all that kind of thing. Also, if you are a service-based business owner or a course creator of any kind, then you can take all of the lessons from here as well. Okay. So it will help a variety of people. Now, if you're not necessarily a new coach or an early stage business coach, but you're finding that your content isn't converting into inquiries and clients, then this will absolutely help you as well. Now, here's what I'm going to be talking to you about, right? So the biggest mistake that coaches make in their content, I'm going to be covering that. And in fact, a sideline of me having been doing content creation since 2011 as kind of my background. I might give you a couple of extras, but the focus, the point is is to give you the number one reason the coaching content isn't converting, and then I'm going to talk to you about how to fix it using the one sentence stories method. So I'm super excited to share all of that good stuff. And like I particularly want to share this because the one sentence stories method, which I'll explain what that means, but basically the whole idea of storytelling, this is so much of what I do with my clients, either when I've been providing services or as a coach, right? I've been doing this for quite some time, right? And I've been writing stories since I was, just about old enough to walk. Actually, no, that's a fun exaggeration. Look at that story. Look at that one sentence story sitting in there now. Now it's like, oh, here I am, this little toddler. The first ever story that I wrote and that I actually gave to other people. I was 7 years old and I wrote this story, and it was all about a haunted house, and there was a lot of, and suddenly this happened, and suddenly that happened, and a lot of things like that. But my teacher was so impressed that she accused me of cheating and that my mother must have written it for me. And it was like, no, because I was one of those quiet kids in the room that I was very happy to be overlooked. In fact, that was a great day, being overlooked, not having to answer questions, not having to put up my hand because I had a habit of I'd put up my hand to answer a question and then they'd call on me and I would panic and I would go blank and then I would feel dumb even though I knew the answer, right? And then somebody else would say the answer and I'd be like, I knew that. Why couldn't I say it? So a little eyesight or insight into early stage TF, right? And look how far we've come. Now she's boring people all over the world with a podcast, but I love it. Okay, hang on a second. Okay, so now to get this into some more relatable territory, what I'm often doing when I'm helping my clients. So some of you will know that I help like new coaches to sign clients, like their first ever paying clients. We aim for two people in the first 3 months. And like it doesn't sound flashy, but like we create a high ticket program together and something you can sell twice and make your money back and then keep selling well after we work together. And then I have another program for sort of more established coaches to create consistent clients by signing two clients a month over 4 months, roughly. And obviously, it depends on the person. And sometimes it could be no one in the first month while we get everything together, and then we get the two clients a month over the following 3 months. So to sign six consistent clients and to get into that whole signing consistent clients thing. So the reason I say that is just so that you know where I'm coming from this and you know how this is working. And of course, if you're a service-based business owner or you have a course, then this still absolutely applies because you either need to get clients or you need to get people studying the course, right? Signing up to the course. And, they're all people that we're helping at the end of the day, whether I use the term client or, course participant or something like that. right? And at the end of the day, we're teaching somebody, we're either just doing it more in a hands-on one-on-one thing or in a less hands-on, here, watch my videos or go through my online course or whatever that looks like. Okay. So what I see often is coaches putting out like sort of informative content or like it tells people, maybe might tell people about the problems, like they might have done like a marketing course where it's like hit the pain points, and you can often end up making your clients feel so bad that it's like it just, they don't want to work with you because they just feel bad about themselves, right? And I say this as someone who's gone down that road, okay? I've had all of the marketing training and the knowledge. In fact, I had the marketing training at university, and then I had to relearn marketing for online business because when I went to university, the internet wasn't as much of a thing. So they taught us how to do marketing as if you're in a big company with teams and things like that. And it's kind of a whole different thing when you're in a business of your own, and then the whole online thing and translating that. So that's often what I see. And what the other thing I see is like a lot of vagueness. Like it's not showing the transformation. So of the transformation of what it's like to work with you, that before and after. And one of the most powerful ways to really break through the noise and to really show how amazing you are and the transformation you provide is through storytelling, right? And in particular, the one sentence stories approach that I have created. And one of my clients is using this, and she repeatedly gets like 40% or more open rates on her emails with using this in the subject lines and in the emails. Like people are reading these stories. That's a client of mine who helps people with burnout, or sorry, I should say, former client of mine who helps people with burnout. And yeah, it's just, there's all of these amazing stories to tell on that side of things if you think about it, okay? So this is why oftentimes like there's so much information out there on like what you can do for content, post tips and lists and educational content and that kind of thing. So a lot of the time, this attracts people who like want to do it themselves, right? They want to get the answers from you and then go off and do it themselves, right? And you're always going to get a number of people like that. But the emotional connection and the storytelling is so powerful, okay? So, like, as humans, we've been telling stories since caveman times. We've been drawing them on walls, telling the stories, they get passed down. And like, if you think about it, oops, hang on a second, I just need to clear my throat. So if you think about it, like the story of like the boy who cried wolf, right? That, I don't know, that was one that was so powerful for me as a kid, especially around like lying and telling the truth and everything like that. And like the story of it is just so much more powerful than just being told, hey, don't lie, right? It's like because you see yourself in the boy's experience as a child, right? For the right people. I mean, it doesn't click and connect with everyone, and that's okay, right? We're just trying to connect with our people. And this is the power of the storytelling and the emotional side of that, right? So we can connect with our people, right? So they can see themselves in that story, especially if you use one sentence stories about the struggles and what they're going through and what they're worried about, and doing it from a compassionate point of view, okay, right? And then you can share stories from your clients or yourself, or just stories about what it's like after they work with you, okay? And I'm going to be walking you through how to tap into this and how to do this today. And of course, I have an amazing workshop coming up for all of this good stuff. So depending on when you hear this, either the workshop's coming up or the replay will be available. So either of those options are available to you. Now, part of why this is so powerful and why it's so needed, especially for coaching or even educational content if you're a course creator, right? It's a little different on the service provider side, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But just for the coaches, right? This is something that, like, the thing is like selling coaching is not like just selling a toaster online, okay? Right? Nobody needs to believe in themselves and believe that they are capable of making change when it comes to buying a toaster. They know the toaster works, they know it's going to provide toast in some form, although why my like every toaster I've ever owned, you put it on the two setting and like it can come out completely burnt or it can come out not burnt depending on the bread. And okay, that's a whole different rant for a whole different time. Anyway, right? So the point I'm trying to get at is that for when it comes to coaching, it's not just about like them believing in you, like you might have heard, and this I heard for years ad nauseum, ad infinitum, all over the place of like, know, like, and trust. They need to know you, they need to like you, and they need to trust you, right? The missing piece of that puzzle, like in order to buy from you, they need to know you, like you, and trust you. The missing piece of that puzzle, the complementary side, is that they need to feel seen, heard, and understood. Okay? Seen, heard, and understood. And that doesn't always come across when you're not storytelling. Like the storytelling is the easiest way to really connect and help somebody feel seen, heard, and understood. The reason the seen, heard, and understood is so powerful is because your clients need to believe in themselves because they have to make change when it comes to coaching, right? They have to make changes, they have to make a commitment. The same for the course creators, right? It's on them to do a portion of the work, right? And to make changes and to see this happen, okay, and to get the results. Now, when it comes on the service-based side, the thing is for service providers, it's like you're doing the change for them a little bit, right? So that takes a lot of the fear and the worry off their shoulders, which makes it easier. Like you're probably leaning more on the trust and everything, but you still need to have compassion for their situation and their struggles in either giving up control or allowing you to guide them. And just because they're hiring you doesn't mean like they need to step into sort of a leadership role as well. And like it is the two of you working together, even though you're doing the work, they still need to be part of the process in their own way. Right. So this is where this seen, heard, and understood is just, man, it means everything, right? I can't tell you the amount of times, especially like I've been on discovery calls with different coaches and things. I've been helping coaches since 2017. I've been hiring my own coaches since 2017. I've been on a number of discovery calls like as the client, and there's been a few where the whole point was to, hit the pain points so hard that, and perhaps I'm a little oversensitive, but like I was bawling my eyes out in a discovery call. And the person on the other side just had absolutely no compassion for me whatsoever. And I was absolutely not going to work with them no matter what because they didn't have the compassion. And it's like, what's it going to be like working with you? Like, I don't want a bully as a coach. So, right, now that I've talked about the power of this, I'm going to show you a bit more signs of the power of this storytelling, right? And why it helps so much and it helps build connection and it really helps your clients to see themselves going through that transformation with you. Okay? You become the one they want to work with because you understand them like nobody else. And also like they trust you, but they feel seen and they trust themselves to step up and take the actions and get the results, right? Because that can be the hardest thing. Like I've worked with so many health coaches, right? I particularly do a lot of work with health coaches in part because I'm like the biggest client. I've looked at everything in the health coaching niche from a client perspective, let alone from a coaching perspective, and I can talk about what resonates with me and what doesn't. And I'm yeah, like it's just really that whole like being understood on, when it's a hard day, that kind of thing. And in fact, even for me, when I'm hiring a coach, oftentimes I will give them the, hey, this is great, but not right now. I'm looking at this in the next couple of months to see how they handle hearing no from me, to just make sure I weed out the people who are like, oh, but you have to do it right now, like, all that sort of stuff. So it's that whole being seen, heard, and understood is what attracts me to the right coaches, right? And especially that compassion, which is great when it comes to the one sentence stories method. So let me give you some cool, fun examples of this. Now, I want to start with an example that's a little bit outside of the coaching niche, but it's something that came across, and just like the power of storytelling in promotions and advertising and that kind of thing. This thing just really got me. It's this campaign from a company called LNDR, and they are a sportswear company, right? But they have a real storytelling flair, and it really captured my attention, right? Even though for them, I'm not 100% their ideal client, right? So they have their ideal clients, like like they have this ad, and you can look it up on YouTube, like look up their thing and look at their ads, right? So there's things like she works out because her finance job gives her the same stress levels as someone being hunted for sport, right? Now, for the coaches in the audience and any of you who've listened, like we know that whole fight or flight response that gets triggered, right? This is why we're doing the bravery thing, that kind of thing. But I just love how, someone being hunted for sport, like it's just that those visuals, it just really impacts, and it sits with you, and it's something you think about all day. Now, for the people who are watching that who are like, oh, I have a high stress job that makes me feel like I'm being hunted for sport, and that's why I work out, right? Do you see the power of that storytelling? And for the health coaches in the room, you can absolutely bring that into what you are doing, right? That kind of really understanding, one of your people, okay? Now, the now it follows up with an LNDR is engineered to keep up, right? So it's like, hey, we're for the people in the high stress jobs who are really hitting the gym hard to blow off that that steam, right? But they didn't say all those words. It's in this amazing sort of one sentence story, right? She works out because her finance job gives her the same stress levels as someone being hunted for sport, right? Now they have another ideal client, right? They move on, and while while you're looking at this, all of the people in the ad, they are in like just grey workout wear, but it looks awesome. And the tones are kind of like this warm browns to go with the grey. And like, yeah, it looks looks very, it's very visceral anyway. Like it works, right? So this is really interesting because someone like me, I have chronic illness. I can't hit the gym that hard, but I used to at one point. And yeah, like I'm not 100% their ideal client, but man, I'm being drawn in anyway and I'm attracted, right? I wouldn't be surprised if in the next month or so I've bought some of their work because they're awesome. Right, because of this storytelling element, okay? So they move on to another type of person, and they say she works out because she has 3 kids and doesn't want to piss herself when she sneezes. Sorry for the vulgarity, but that's the words. And like, I've worked with health coaches who help women, after childbirth and that kind of stuff. So yeah, like this one, just like I know that that is an ideal client for many of the health coaches in here. And if you're listening to this and not seeing the parallels here, right? If you're a business coach or in a different industry, right? Like there are people, like if you dig deep, and I'm going to teach you how to do this later in the episode. If you dig deep, you can find these little one sentence stories of people and use them in your content and your person. Like you know that the woman with 3 kids who's worrying about, what happens when she sneezes, right? You know that she is going to sit up and go, oh, that's me. Oh, wow, they really get me, right? And I know this is cliched as heck, right? But this is what we want in marketing. Okay. This is what we want when we're talking about our coaching. This is what we want. We're talking about whatever it is we do, right? The transformation. And I know for the coaches, it's probably easier to understand that before and after transformation, like what their life is like before they work with you, what their life is like after. But there's a transformation in everything we do. Even if you're selling retail, a transformation happens, right? When somebody puts the money down to buy jewelry, right? There's a transformation that happens in their mind of, oh, here's who I'm becoming. I become someone when I have these clothes or this jewelry or something like that. Okay. The same happens for your online courses. There is a transformation. They're learning something from you so that they can get results and there will be a transformation, right? Coaches, are you creating content but still not signing enough clients? Then you've got to check out my one sentence stories workshop. In this live interactive session over Zoom, we'll craft scroll stopping stories that actually connect and convert. You'll walk away with upgraded content, bios, reels, promo posts, and the confidence to turn followers into paying clients. It's happening April 30th, and podcast listeners get in for just $24 with code STORIES25. Grab your spot at bit.ly/stories April 30. That's all lowercase, no spaces, no underscores, or you can find the link in the show notes. And yes, there is a 30-day money-back guarantee. Let's not go into the depths of how many people actually do courses and finish them, and let's not go into that side of things, but like this is what we're thinking about. If you're a service provider, a transformation happens for their business. It's just that you're doing the work for them, but a transformation happens over a period of time, right? There is an amazing before and after that happens, right? If you're taking off the virtual assistant tasks from someone, you're taking stuff off their to-do list and letting them focus on other things and build their business in a different way and not have to do the work they hate. Like there's so many transformations there. So there's a transformation, right? So another, they have a number of these, right? I'll just read one more, but because menopause has bitch slapped the tact out of her, right? Like, how cool is that? Like, and then like listen to some of the wording that they're using to really draw in their people as well. Like, bitch slapped, pisses herself, right? And it's not an Australian company, I don't think. Gosh, I have to think. Was it Australian? I know we swear a bit more and we're a little bit more, I don't know, blunt in what we do, or at least I am. And yeah, it's just it's really interesting, like the choice of words, the power there. Okay. Now, let me give you perhaps some other relatable ones for like our online business world and our coaching world. So here's an example of a before, right? Come and join my breathwork sessions. They'll help you relax, right? And you see people write posts about this, okay? And like it's like, oh yeah, okay, that's nice. That's a nice to have. But here, what if we rework this and get very specific about one person that we're going to help, right? So now we rework it into breathwork sessions for mothers of three-nagers. So you can shake off the next tantrum without batting an eyelid. Okay. Now, here's where we have that power, right? The mothers of three-nagers, so 3-year-olds that act like teenagers. The three-nagers is a thing that mothers in those groups use, and I've always loved that term, even though I don't have kids myself, but I have nieces and nephews and I have spent many years teaching children. So I love that. Okay. And so you can shake off the next tantrum without batting an eyelid, right? This is how we turn it into a must-have, right? That next tantrum, the mother of the three-nager knows that she probably had a tantrum she went through this morning, maybe yesterday morning, but she knows, oh my God, that's me. That's going to happen again. And I didn't handle it well. And so it turns it from a nice to have to a must have. And this can be the power of these one sentence stories, right? In how you talk about your coaching, right? Here's another one. I help entrepreneurs be more productive and get more done, right? I've seen this. I've worked with clients with this starting point, right? I help entrepreneurs. There's like so many different types of entrepreneurs, right? Be more productive and get more done. Now, I just want to make a point here. This is not about niching down and, you have to pick one person to serve for the rest of your life, right? I'm a multi-passionate individual, right? I wanted to call it a multi-potentialite. So that's a whole thing, right? But, sticking with one person forever, like that is hard, right? For many of us. And if you're attracted to me in any way, shape, or form, and you're still listening, you probably have this creative side where you want to help everybody and all of that kind of thing. What I'm saying here is just getting more specific about one person this offer can help, right? You can write other content for other types of people, but you really want people to go, oh my gosh, that is me. So now let's rework this. I help entrepreneurs be more productive and get more done. Let's rework it into I help service-based business owners turn a never-ending to-do list into paying clients with the profit pathway framework. Okay, so here are some just amazing like things here in this thing. And I know I wrote it, so of course I'm going to call it amazing, but let me break it down. Okay, so service-based business owners, like, yes, that's still quite a wide niche. There's different types of service-based business owners, right? You have ones who have families, mothers, other people who, like there's men out there, right? Who have do their own thing. There's different types of service-based, there's all kinds of things. So we're still pretty wide. So I just want to reiterate that this isn't necessarily about niching down, if you've heard that term, like choosing a particular target audience, right? This is just being about being specific. So your person can see themselves and go, oh my God, that's me, right? Now, what we have here though is we have service-based business owners with a never-ending to-do list, like turn a never-ending to-do list into paying clients, right? So this allows the service-based business owners who keep looking at their to-do list, they've got so much to do, they're working 16 hours a day, but they don't have enough income, they don't have enough paying clients, right? It's not translating yet, right? With the profit pathway framework. And this is the power in coaching, even in service-based work, even in like your courses, is having some kind of framework, some kind of there are other things than just frameworks. Like a framework, a blueprint, your success guide, something that is like a proven set of working, a proven set of processes that works that can be applied. Okay. Now I like frameworks because that allows flexibility. That's my personality, right? My whole thing when I teach my clients, it's, hey, like take what resonates for you and ignore the rest, right? Because there's thousands of ways to solve this problem of hiring clients, and there's no one way that works for everyone. So take what resonates and ignore the rest. Either you'll come back around to it at a later date, or it's not right for you and it won't work because energetically, manifesting, all that kind of stuff. We don't want to block things up with trying to force you into a pathway that doesn't work for you, right? Into a solution or a marketing strategy that doesn't work for you. Okay, so this is why I like frameworks. That needs to be a whole other episode about like, creating your offer and all of that kind of thing. But this is this can you see how the power of this, because like it's turning it into paying clients with the profit pathway framework. It's like, oh, I want a pathway, I want to get profit, I want a pathway, right? So that's a couple of just really powerful exercises in this of like befores and afters. And in my upcoming workshop, we're going to be doing this live with your content, as well as like I'll teach you with examples and that kind of thing, but we'll get into it and apply it to your content. So we're going to apply it to your Instagram bio, to your promotional posts on Instagram, to your reels and your stories, right? Emails and sales pages, that's something that we can do one-on-one together, right? But once you know the basis of like the power of this storytelling to talk about your like what you're doing, right? And the transformation that you provide, right? This is the power. Now, let me get into exactly how we're going to do this, okay? So, we have 3 steps for this particular tool and approach, right? So, step one is to, okay, what I've got written here is to follow them around on a typical day before they work with you. Now, I'm going to make that even easier and break it down. If storytelling sort of comes easily to you, then by all means, follow them around on their typical day from waking up to going to sleep. Okay. That's always fun. And if you're ever stuck for content, like I love doing that, imagining, my one person and what she's doing and what she's thinking and what she's feeling at different times through the day, especially, those points of conflict, that kind of thing. However, in the workshop, I'm going to make it even easier and just be like, okay, like let's look at the first 2 hours of her morning. And then like we might skip to lunchtime or skip to 3 p.m. Like I know for the health coaches and even in business, like 3 p.m. is a really interesting time to look at somebody's life, okay, before they work with you. Because either on the health side, you've got that whole dip that happens, and even on the business side, that dip can affect what types of tasks they're doing in business, what they're thinking. Like a lot of the fears and worries can come out because they're more tired. If you work with mothers, they might be doing school pickups, not drop offs, school pickups, maybe taking them to activities or things like that, but they're like worried about their business and what they didn't get done, okay? Or they're, you know, like sacrificing their health, or there's just so many things that can be happening at that point, right? It's so like that's a good time to look at. Another good time to look at is maybe like before they go to sleep and the things that they're doing, they're thinking, and they're feeling, right? Now, part of the power of this, see, I've been helping coaches since 2017, and I know I've already told you guys that. And anybody who's listened to me for a while has probably heard me say that, put it in my content. One of the things that I find fascinating about what we do here for anybody who sells anything, but particularly in coaching, right, is that as as we get like we have this topic we're so passionate about, we learn all about it, we get obsessed about it, right? And then we forget that the people who we help, the people who pay us for our expertise, they are not nearly as obsessed, and they may never be quite as obsessed as us, right? And we forget what it's like to be right at the beginning. So when you're doing this, it's just trying to remember that the person that you're following around, like imagine you're following them around with a camera, right? But you're not saying anything or interacting or anything, even though you really want to. The person who you are helping, they don't know what you know, and they probably have a lot of things they're thinking that are wrong, misconceptions, right? And it can be really hard the longer we've been doing this to really remember that kind of stuff. So this is where going into Facebook groups or talking to people who are like your ideal clients can really help to ground you and bring you back into, oh yeah, I remember what it was like at the beginning, right? For example, when I started my business, I had a day job, a part-time day job, and I had my business, and then I had days that were just fully for my business. And those days, like I just remember at the beginning, I was like, oh, I'm not bound by this 9 to 5 lifestyle. It's brilliant. And I'd get up and I'd sit down at the the desk, and I'd be like, oh, what am I going to do? And I'd write down all these things that I could do, and then I go, oh, but oh, if I do this, and what about this other thing, and like this is before I learned how to like plan my weeks in advance, and the difference between planning from your prefrontal cortex versus, planning on the day when you're using your monkey mind and there's more anxiety involved and you don't make the best decisions for your long-term betterment, I guess is a great way to say it. So yeah, like if you can just imagine, and then it was like, I would sit down and I would start to work on something, and then I'd be like, oh, I need inspiration. Let's go to the internet. Probably the worst thing to do. And back in those days, it was more Facebook than Instagram. That's because back when I was first starting in this online marketing world, the Instagram wasn't even around yet. So you'd go to Facebook, and then you'd see an ad. It'd be like, oh, forget doing content. You just need this. Forget doing, and then you'd see the next ad, which would be forget doing that thing you just saw. Do ads instead. It'd be so easy to jump around and waste the whole day, right? So then I would yeah, not get anything done and I'd feel bad about it and the guilt. And then my husband would come home and I've got a whole story crafted about this for when I'm teaching. But if you can just imagine like some of the things that I thought about myself, like my own self-image at that time, the things that I was feeling, the things that I was doing and jumping around and all of this kind of stuff. And all because there was this underlying thing of, hey, I'm not enough, or things like that, right? So if you can just imagine that day versus where I am now, which is, yeah, well over a decade later, and like I just approach my whole business differently, but I can't write the content for me now. I have to write content for like me in the beginning, okay? Not that my ideal clients now, they don't really run their days like that, right? As I've leveled up, I've attracted people like the right people to kind of fit me. However, like I'm just trying to show that difference, right? Like, and I used to say this all the time when I was teaching marketing. So, like, if you can just imagine, like, your ideal client, they don't know what you know, and like they have a symptom, like say they have a cold, and they like they have a headache and they go to the internet and they go, oh, I have a headache, and then they look up and they get these answers. But see, the thing is that you know that they have a headache because they didn't get enough sleep and they didn't do all of these other things. They, perhaps they just ate really high sugary cereals for breakfast or something like that, right? So there's a whole reason that could lead to that particular headache, and it's your knowledge they need, but they don't know that. If you're writing content about, hey, don't write sugary, don't have sugary meals, but they're just like, I have a headache, then you're going to be missing each other, right? So this is the power of this, right? So step one was just like look at their morning and just like what are they doing? What are they thinking? What are they feeling? Look at their 3 p.m. and then look at before they go to sleep. Now, if you are an overachiever, you can also look at what happens at 3 or 4 in the morning when they wake up stressed. What are they thinking about, right? And I want to preface this by saying that nobody wakes up at 3 in the morning and goes, "Oh my God, I need more coaching," right? They at 3 in the morning, they're thinking, "Oh my God, I need less arguments with my husband. Oh my God, or I need more love from someone or something, right? I need more income. I need more clients, right? It's the base things of survival and that feeling good about yourself that you want to like blocking that hole that lives within us, right? That some people are more aware of than others. Now, so how long have I been talking for? Oh, I should have put on a timer. Anyway, okay. So, step two of this, once you have worked out their like a couple of these time periods of their typical day, right? Craft a one sentence story, okay? For that particular for for that morning, right? Now, you don't need to show the transformation. Just look at the before and then like before working with you and the after working with you. So, an example of like before working with a coach could be, hey, you sit down at your desk, and that's not even the first 2 hours of the morning, actually, but this is the easiest example that's coming to mind for this at the moment. But hey, you sit down at your desk in the morning and you think, I'm going to work on creating content. But then you think, oh my gosh, I need some inspiration from the internet. So you go to the internet, and then the internet tells you to jump to Facebook ads. And so you're like, oh, yeah, let's do that. And then suddenly you're in a 2 hour webinar before you know it. Okay. Now that's a very long one sentence story. That was a few sentences put together. Okay. So, and I'll have these better for the workshop. Sorry, the fun part of having been doing this for most of my life is like I just do this so quickly and automatically, and then like breaking like this is part of the writing procedure of like, okay, we write down all of the ideas and then we refine it and we rework it into, what is it? It's 9 a.m. You sit at your desk with your one thing you're going to get to do today, and today's the day, you're not going to miss it. And then you decide, but you start overthinking it, and then you get on the internet, and before you know it, you're in a webinar on Facebook ads that you had no intention of doing. And by 5 p.m. you haven't done anything on ads but a webinar, and you haven't got the content done, right? Like, do you see how then in that next thing it's like it gets shorter and snappier? Okay. So this is what I mean by like I like thinking of them as like little one sentence stories. It's like each sentence is a part of the story, and it builds, and it just becomes so powerful. With more time and a little bit more attention, you can break it down into something shorter. You can use AI to help you as well. And this is just the power of this approach. And I want to say on that thing about AI is, if you're thinking, hey, I'll just go to AI and plug it in, you really need to be able to tell AI like what you know about your ideal clients. Otherwise, it's just going to spit back a lot of general stuff that everybody else is saying. Like, you want to find some ways of talking about it that are kind of your words, because it will be imbued with your energy, right? And it'll have your intention behind it. So from that side of things, from the manifesting side, right? I think really helps. And also just, yeah, like just don't let AI end up bullying you into just having blah content like everybody else. Okay. Like, it's a great tool, it can be useful. Just you need to know the concepts and what you're trying to do first. Okay. So after step two of crafting these one sentence stories and then just reworking them and getting them shorter and snappier and that kind of thing, or using AI to do that. There's also an app online that I've been using for decades now called the Hemingway app, which can really help to get rid of extra words and get things tighter, like snappier and that kind of thing. It's not something that comes out in the first round of things. Okay. So, step three is then integrating it into your content. So into your Instagram bio, where you want to, your coaching promo posts, and your IG stories and reels. Now, I want to talk about this specific, like getting specific, right? If you're finding your content is converting fine, then you don't need to get more specific. But if your content isn't working, it's not getting what you need, then you need to get more specific about who your person is, what they're going through, what their goals are, right? Even if you are specific for a post or two and then shift into a different example and specific for a different person for a post or two. Now, I know that goes against like a lot of what you hear about content creation, which is like repetitive storytelling helps, but I think it helps to have like different specific stories and different, yeah, like it keeps it interesting, and it lets people know that you work with a variety of people. And I think in this day and age, people can handle that. They don't just want to hear, for example, if I just kept talking about, the new coach who wants to sign their first paying clients and just only talked about that in a really small way. I don't, I mean, and like it doesn't represent all of the people who I work with anyway. So that's why I have some different stories, but you need to make sure you're looking at different parts of their day or different things that are going on just to keep your content interesting as well. Okay, so let me do a recap of everything that I have said so far from memory. All right, so if like your content isn't converting, what you need is the emotional connection and the storytelling, right? So that your ideal clients can feel seen, heard, and understood, which helps build the know, like, and trust factor so that they want to work with you. The emotional connection just breaks through the noise, and it can help them see the transformation of what you provide, the before working with you and the after working with you. What does their life look like after? How does it change? How do they think differently, right? So they can see themselves going through that transformation. And for bonus points, content that talks about, hey, after the first couple of weeks of working with me, here's the transformation you'll see after the first month, right? A lot of the time we want to talk about the big transformation of after 6 months working with me. You want to show that transformation is going to happen in the first couple of weeks, first month. That really helps people shift and move, right? Because then they can really see it becomes that much more attainable, right? Like for health coaches, it's the, oh yeah, we're going to help you lose 10 kilos, right? But actually, like one of my clients, it was, hey, we're going to help you lose 1 kilo a week, right? Kilo is 2.2 pounds. Okay. So rather than 10 kilos, the 20 plus pounds, right? So that 1 kilo a week, and then like talking about okay, what's going to happen in the first week? Here's some of the things you're going to notice, right, in the first week, and then the second week. Those things just feel more attainable, and it helps them step through that transformation. Anyway, I know a lot of stuff about this, guys. The other thing, this storytelling and the emotional connection that it creates, it helps your clients to believe it's possible for them to make change, because they have to believe in themselves, because that they've got to change habits. They need to become a new version of themselves, and they need to see themselves doing that, right? So that step one was to look at their typical day before they work with you, and then look at the typical day after they work with you, create the stories, right? Look at the morning, look at that 3 p.m., look at going to sleep, and for bonus points, what happens if and when they wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning stressed about something, those base fears. Okay. Then start crafting sentences about what you see, right? And then like rework them into shorter, snappier sentences. And this is what I'm going to be walking you through this process in my workshop. Okay, I think it's going to be a 2-hour workshop. I haven't fully outlined it, but I want to have plenty of time to teach the concepts, which, you've heard the concepts already, so you're a head start, but I want to be able to work with everybody in there and make sure they come out of it with content that they can use straight away, with an IG bio that they can use straight away. If that's something that's on your mind and you keep looking at it going, I must need to change this, you might come through the thing and realize you don't even need to change your IG bio at all. But I'm going to be talking through that process and what should be in the bio and everything. And then the promo posts and all of that goodness. Okay, so if you were listening to this and you want to know more about the workshop, come and find me over on Instagram, right? At Tiffany G Studios, Tiffany, G for golf, Studios, right? Once upon a time, I started as a photographer, and so I've just kept the studios. So that's the behind the scenes of that. So reach out to me over there or come and find me. There could be a link up by the time this goes live, right? And you can sign up to the waitlist. I haven't set the date for it yet. I already have a couple of people on the waitlist, and it's going to be happening very soon. Or there might be a replay by the time you listen to this. So if this episode has inspired you in any way, I would love for you to reach out and chat with me. I'd love to hear your biggest takeaways. You can tag me, you can create a reel and tag me, and I will share it. I'd love to hear from you guys, and yeah, reach out if you want to know more about the workshop. Otherwise, I just love to see how you apply these concepts and see how you go from here, right? Thank you so much for listening. And yeah, that's it from me. Bye for now. If you're tired of posting content that doesn't bring in clients, join me for the One Sentence Stories workshop happening April 30. It's just $24 with code STORIES25. You'll leave with content that connects and converts. Details are at bit.ly/stories April 30, all lowercase, no spaces, no underscores, or you can find the link in the show notes. And there's a 30-day money-back guarantee if it's not helpful. Hope to see you there. Thanks for listening to the Business Bravery Podcast. Has this episode inspired you to do something brave? Even if it's only send a difficult email, please share it with me on Instagram or other social media channels. Feel free to tag me at Tiffany G Studios. That's Tiffany G for golf, STUDIOS, no spaces, no underscores, etc. Or you can use the hashtag Business Bravery Podcast so that I can cheer you on, and together we can inspire other coaches and course creators to do brave things in their business and life. Now, I'm Tiffany, and I'll leave you with this one last thing. What's one brave thing you're going to do today? It doesn't have to be big. Even the smallest steps can create the most massive results. So again, feel free to share it with me either publicly or privately so that I can cheer you on. That's it from me. Until next time, bye for now.